morning, everyone. This is Ronnie Kaplan from Computer Training Solutions, and I am broadcasting from
U.S. Computer Connection. This is Nancy Haddad.
Hello, and we're going to show you today how you can give more energy and zip and excitement to your PowerPoint presentations by adding various types of animation. So here I have a presentation just in a normal screen view of a properties company, and there are 23 slides to this, and I'm going to show you various types of animation. And the first type of animation I'm going to show you is transitions. And what transitions means is that if I run the slideshow without putting any transitions on, I need to swap the view here because I have multiple screens, and so it's sometimes showing me the presenter view. I don't want you to see presenter view. I want you to see what your normal presentation view would be to your audience. So if I don't have any transitions on, as I click from slide to slide, you will just see the next slide pop up with no other movement in between. So I'm going to escape out of that and go back to the first slide, and I want to show you how you can put some movement on that. So I would go to the Transitions tab, and you see there are a variety of different transitions here. I'm going to go and say, okay, let's do a split on the first one. Now, normally the easy way to set up transitions on multiple slides is to go to the slide sorter view, which you can see down on the lower right on the bar. And if I click on that, I see thumbnails of each of the slides. The one that I've just put the transition on has a little star, because any type of animation puts the star there. If I click on the next one and say, okay, I want to see transitions, not only do I have these, but there's a More tab, and so I have lots of transitions. So first I'm just going to put on some pretty standard ones, and then I'm going to choose some I'm going to tack this on so it stays open. I'm going to choose a little more exciting ones, like a little origami bird, or let's see, a zoom. Okay, so some of them are a lot more, I would say, maybe disorienting, like this one, than another. So you might want to be careful as to what you choose, and you most likely would not want to be choosing a different one for every slide, like I'm doing here, but I'm just trying to give you a little bit of orientation into what's available. Okay, so normally you would probably choose the same one for all, or perhaps alternate between two that are not all that exciting. Okay, so that's a curtain opening. That's kind of neat. Many of these transitions also have effects that you can work with and modify. Okay, so I've done the first 10. So I want to show you what that looks like if we run it. So I'm going to run the presentation from the first one. Again, I'm going to change the view, so you're seeing the presentation view. And so that's once, there's a little origami bird. And I think you can see why you wouldn't want to put a separate transition on each slide. It's very disorienting visually. Okay, so that's a shred one. Oh, I went a little too fast on that one. There's the curtains. I like that one. They're even swinging aside. Okay. I think that's probably it. Okay, so you would not probably notice they all have the little stars, whichever ones I have put the transitions. So I'm going to remove all of those at once by doing a Control-A to select all, and then say None on the Transitions tab. Okay, so what I might suggest, if you want to put some transitions but not make people a little visually disoriented, is to, for instance, select all the odd ones. So I'm going to use Control and select the first, the third, the fifth, the seventh. And let's say I do Uncover, and that Uncover is going to the left. And then I'm going to select, again, using my Control, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then I'm going to select Uncover again. But notice this Effect Options. And instead of from the right, which is the default, I'm going to say from the left. So it's going to give me a little bit more movement without being crazy. So I'm going to go to the first slide again and run the presentation to show you the difference. And again, I'm swapping the display, so you're seeing the presenter side. Okay, so now it's uncovering one way, uncovering another way, so it's alternating, because I did the odds one way and the evens the other way. Okay, that's one. So that's a little bit about transitions, and since I'm going to be showing you other animation, I'm going to take off all these transitions so it won't take as much time to switch around from slide to slide. So do experiment with these, just to review, just do experiment with these different transitions to see which ones work for you. You might want to use one of the more exciting ones when you're introducing your new whiz-bang exciting project, but not on every slide. It's just too much for people to take in visually. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about animating, and I'm going to go into the first slide, which has right now no animation. And I'm selecting this little box which has the logo for this company in it. And if I'd like to animate that logo, I'm going to go to Animations on my ribbon. And in the animations, just like in the transitions, there's lots of different choices. So if I use, for instance, a fly-in, it will fly in from the bottom. If I prefer, this has options to it. Some of the animations do, not all. Maybe I want to fly in from the left or the right or the top, so I can modify that. I'm going to select the title, and I might want that to also fly in, and maybe I do want it from the bottom. And notice how it numbers each of the animations. And now I'm going to select the person's name, the presenter, and I'm going to say float in, just to pick something a little bit different. So I have 3 animations on that slide. If I run that slide, I'm going to click it in this view, because if I swap the views, it's going to lose something, I think. Yeah, so that one went in, and as I click again, the next one goes in, and as I click a third time, the name comes in. So I'm going to go out of that. If I wanted to, I can make them appear automatically, so I don't have to be clicking or hitting my keys to get the next transition to happen or the next animation to happen. So here on this animations ribbon, all the way on the right, instead of starting it on a click, which is the default, I can say start after the previous. So in other words, if it has an animation, a transition to come on, and then after that it will do the next animation. And then I can click on the next one, the OGC properties, and again say after previous. If I would like, I can build in a delay of a half a second or a second, and I can tell it to, I can slow it down by building in some duration. And then maybe I want to just make this last one go after previous. All right, so we'll see how that works. So if I start the slideshow now, first one came in automatically. I'm not touching anything, clicking anything, and so they all came in by themselves, which you probably want with something like titles and so forth. There are times you might want to control what's happening, but there are times when you probably would not. So you can animate any of these objects that you like, and I've used some relatively simple, float in, fly in, but notice they have all sorts of, swivels and bounces and wheels and all sorts of more exciting ones if you'd like to do that. If you have something like a logo that appears on every single slide and you want it animated in the same way on all the slides, you could go to Slide Master and select that object and put your animation on it, and it would happen on every slide. Okay, let's look at pictures. So here's a slide that has a picture on it. Right now there's no animation to this. And if I wanted to animate it, let's say I wanted to do a swivel. Okay, so that's one of the things that I can do. If I wanted, and again, if I run the slideshow, I need to now click or hit a key in order to have that happen. If I want it to happen automatically, I can say either after the previous or with the previous. And if I wanted to, now the duration is 2 seconds, I can make it longer, I can make it shorter, and so forth. But if I run the slideshow now, I don't have to click, and it's automatically happening. So that's one of the things that you can do. Okay, let's go to another slide that has a picture. Again, right now there's no animation on the picture. And I can say I would like this to, for instance, let's say a wheel. So it can come in with a wheel. This wheel has effect options. Some of them do, some of them don't. So if I click on the options, notice I can tell it how many spokes I want in the wheel. That's cool. And if I want to, I can also add another animation to this. For instance, the animation I just did is when I first show the picture, but I can add an exit animation as well. So let's say I want float out to be the exit. So if I run the slideshow, first click shows my wheel, the entrance animation. Second click is my fade out animation, my exit. And of course, I could put timing on that. So now it has two animations on the same object, and I can say that I want it to happen after the previous and what the duration is and so forth. So I can have that happen automatically. Okay, let's take a look at something pretty exciting. It's called motion paths. So right now I just have these three ovals and they're not animated in any way. And one of the things I could do in animations again is click on the drop down, the more button, and notice it has entrance, emphasis, exit, and it has motion paths. So if I pick one of these motion paths, it's going to give you a preview of what would happen. I'm going to select another one and click on the drop down, and I could pick another one like a loop-de-loop. But I can also I'll pick the third oval and I'll go down and notice there are more motion paths. And here I have all sorts of very interesting ones. And let's say we do a funnel. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so let's say I do this and I say instead of on click after previous, and I'm going to make each one happen after the previous. I could have them all happen at once with the previous, but I don't think that would be very effective. So I'll say after previous, and then let's test it out. So here they go. I'm not touching, clicking, or anything, and here we go. Now notice that last one ended up all the way down on the bottom. So one of the things you can do if you need to make further adjustments is you could open up the animation pane, which opens up on the right side, and each of your animations will be listed. And I'm going to click down on that last one, the oval one, and I'm going to say Effect Option. I can also do the timing and the after previous and so forth here, but it gives me a few other options. And one of the options here is Autoreverse. So now it'll flip down and then it will flip back up again. Okay, so I'm not sure how wonderful this would look. But on a lot of them, you don't want your object to wind out all the way at the edge of the slide. You want it to come back again. So it's a way of reversing it. So you can see the little paths there. And again, here, if I go into my animations, here are a few of the more common motion paths, but here you have more motion paths, and you have pretty much an unlimited variety of what you can do here, and you can preview them if you like, right? And the same thing is true of more entrance effects, way more than we saw, and more exit effects, and so forth. So there's lots of different effects that you can get. Okay, another thing that you might be interested in is sound. And if you have a sound file that you'd like to use with one of these, you can. I'm just going to use what's built in here. So I'm just picking on this first oval, and if I click on the drop down in the animation pane, and I say Effect Options, one of them is sound. And of course, right now it's no sound. I should have some built-in things like applause and breeze and so forth. There's a few that come built in. Although I'm not hearing it, maybe the sound is turned off. No. There we go. So you do have, by default, without adding in any of your own sound, you do have, if I go back to Effect Options and Sound, you have a breeze, a cash register, a chime, a click, a drum roll. So here's drum roll. which is nice for introducing your newest, most wonderful item. Okay, so there's a little bit about you can animate any object. And another item I'd like to talk about is bullets. So if we go to slide 2, which has just a standard set of first level bullets, that if we run the slideshow, okay, we didn't animate anything except the picture. If I click on that and say I want to animate and I want to do a fly-in, it's going to fly in one bullet at a time. So I can, if I run the slideshow, first it has picture animation, and as I click, I'm in control of when we talk about us, and I click again when we talk about the financial highlights, etc. So I'm controlling that. If I want them to come in all at once, okay, I can say Effect Options, and down here in Sequence, I can say all at once, and now they will come in all at once. So it's up to me. The default, if you have bullets like that, will be that they will come in one at a time. That's what they generally you want, but you know, you're in control. Okay, let's take a look at a slide that has some multiple level, first and second level bullets. So right now there's no animation, so they would all just pop up. If I decide I want to animate this, and I want to say, let's say, a float in, notice it floats in the first level with its subs. That's the default way that that works. So if I run the slideshow and the first time I click, it brings in my first bullet with its sub-bullets, and then when I click again, it brings in the next one, etc. What if I want to talk about each of these sub-bullets individually, and I can do that in the animation pane, actually, select option. No, I have to go to the animation pane and click on the drop down and then say Effect Options. And in those effect options is text and, animate the text here in the effect, animate the text all at once by letter, by word. No, we don't want to do that. We want to go to text animation, and it says by first level paragraph. But I have 2 levels, so I'm going to say by second level paragraph. And when I say OK, now you see in the preview it's bringing in one at a time. And if I run the slideshow, that's exactly what's going to happen. So I can say, I can click and just talk about my 25% increase. Then I can bring in the 10% last year when I want, and then when I click, the next 20% projected, and so forth. So I'm in control of each bullet coming in. If I had 3 levels, I could say by 3 level paragraph. So that's the way you can control the bullets a little more closely depending upon how you'd like to bring them in. Okay, so that's bullet. Let's look at charts. This chart would come in all at once, like that. If I wanted to animate it, which makes it a lot more exciting, I can say, again, fly in, and it all flies in at once. But if I go to Effect Options, I can change where it flies in from, but down here in the sequence, I can say I want to bring it in by series. And that makes it a lot more interesting, because when I run the slideshow, first the background of the slide of the graph comes in, and then when I click, I'm going to talk about the north sales, and then when I click again, I can talk about the west sales, etc. So I'm in control of when each of those series comes in. A different way to do that, instead of by series, is by category. If I'd like to talk about each quarter separately, I can control when each of those quarters comes in. And I can even control by each element in the series. So bring in each column separately, which might be a bit much, but it depends upon what you're trying to accomplish in your presentation and how closely you want to do comparisons. So that is how you can select that. And I also have a pie chart. I'd like to give you an example. Here we go, selecting on the pie chart. So let's say I do a fly-in on the pie, and again, in the effect options, let's say I want to go from the top left, so we're changing that, but from the sequence, by category. So now each slice is coming in separately, and when I run that slideshow, I'm the one who's clicking to bring in my west, my north, my south, and so forth when I want to speak about them. So you can animate just about any type of slide. Okay. Also, another item that you frequently add to presentations is smart art. And smart art, first one I want to do is down here. Smart art is kind of business graphics, so it's a way of representing something in a more interesting fashion and making a bulleted list or typing things along a line. So this is a smart art, for instance, and notice when I selected smart art, I'm in smart art designs and smart art formats. So if you haven't used it before, this is a bunch of different smart art layouts that you can use, etc. So if I wanted to animate those smart art items, I can do, for instance, random bars, and they come in. So they're all going to come in together. If I run the slideshow like that and I click, they all come in together. But what I can do is in the effect options, I can tell them one by one. So then I can be in control, or I can set a timing, of course, as to when I haven't set any timing, so each time I click, another piece of this comes in, but I can make each one come in after the previous, and I can set timings for how long to wait in between, etc. Another interesting smart art that we might want to take a look at is here. So this is a smart art design, and right now it would all, of course, come in at once. And if I want to animate it, I'm going to say, let's do a zoom. Here's a zoom. So it all zooms in from the center. But in effect options, I can say one by one. And without setting timing, I'm the one that's going to be in control. When I click the first item on my arrow comes in, and then I can talk about quality service, and then I can talk about fair and honest approach to customer needs, etc. So that allows me to make the smart art, which is a pretty nice way to present something like that, make it even more interesting and more animated. So we have looked at animations of text, pictures, graphs, bullets, smart art. We've put sound on some of them. We've used motion paths. We've controlled the timing. So there's all sorts of ways. And of course, we've done transitions between slides. So there's all sorts of ways to add more excitement, more interest to your PowerPoint presentations. So thank you very much for listening. And I do corporate classes as well as one-on-one classes. And you can reach me at 203-329-2421.
And we have our next Excel webinar, June 8th, Excel pivot table here at US Computer Connection, uscomputer.com/events.
Okay, hope to see you then.